I just took a nail and rammed it into that tire. No, that part's not true. But a chaplain says, oh, I see you're digging for something over there. You've got something. You're look. Can I come over here and see what you're looking at? Can I join you over where you are and see what you're digging for? Can I look for the truth that you're, and can we examine it together? Can we talk about it? Well, I tell people when you're talking about spirituality, that's the chaplain approach that you need to make. Okay, when you're greeting people of other faiths, other denominations, other beliefs or other non-beliefs. I get some of my most fervent readers are atheists, and I tell my pastor that, and he goes, "I'm not surprised. I'm just not surprised." He worries about me sometimes, I say. He said, "What do you do as a chaplain?" I said, "Well, I've done many things as a chaplain. I've turned the healing blanket, put the healing blanket on the bed, turned the bed in the right direction, put garlic under the bed, taken off my shoes, burned incense, disconnected the smoke detector, and read from the Quran. And on Sunday, I'm a Baptist." And so, he doesn't get that. He goes, "Well, how could you bring a Quran to a..." Well, because a chaplain goes to where they find meaning and says, "Help, this is what you find meaning in, and I want to help you examine that." So, and the interesting thing about that, I tell this story all the time. Now, as a Baptist, I was raised to believe that Mormonism is a cult, right? Stay away from the Mormons. God got me because when my father died, my mom remarried a Mormon. So, and he was a pastor. He's a Baptist pastor. He would have led that. It's a cult. It's a cult. But the reason I bring them up is because a dear friend of mine, Gerald Jones, is the chaplain up in Sacramento, and he's the first paid hospital chaplain. He's a Mormon. Now, if I was sick, and don't take this personally, but if I was sick in the church, I would rather him come to the hospital and greet me than Cliff here, because see, Cliff. He's a good guy. He's the warden. I love that name. I just could go, I'm sure you've heard him as the warden. Are you guys that bad? I mean, it's like, dang. Dang, I tell. So, but I see, he would come with a book of prayer, and I'd go, "What's that?" And I'm funning you a little bit, but I just like, "What's that?" And he'd want to sing, and he'd probably want to light something and make smells and bells. And I go, "What's that?" Now, Gerald is a Mormon, but he's trained in this approach of this spiritual approach. So he would come and he would say, "Norris, what's important to you? I know a Bible would be important to you. I know, where's your pastor? Does he know you're in? And can I pray for you? And But he wouldn't be offering to wash my feet, because he knows that I'm not from that Baptist segment that does the feet stuff. So, what is that? Anyway, but it's an understanding of the culture. It's an understanding of spirituality. What's important to you? So, getting back to my notes, finally, with these troops. Don't get me wrong, military chaplains would be hurting without the generosity of those who've sent Bibles for the troops. But again, if it's done because it's just easier to care, if it's done because it's just easier not to ask people what's important to them spiritually. The troops right now might, I've been telling people all over, if you really want to send them something, send them phone cards, and that connects them with their spiritual base. They're spiritual, they call their church, they call their pastor, they call their family, they call people. So now, what I generally find in when I try to explain what spirituality is, and when I talk to people about, we need to understand what's important to people's meaning, they say to me, "Oh, I think you're just being politically correct." Now, that is just, that phrase has come to bother me a bit, because I think what people use that for is a stop sign. Okay, now you've crossed the line. I do not want to understand any more of this culture. Now, you're just being politically correct. Well, let me just give you this example from one of my columns. When I was a little boy, about 10 years old, I still remember this so well. It was my first PC, politically correct lesson. I went to the home of my new best friend, Bobby McGee, and we all had he had Army men and I had Army men, we started doing this, hysterical, not historical reenactment of World War II battle, and the Army men. I ambushed Bobby's German soldiers from atop the coffee table in a move like Geronimo. I jumped my Army Rangers being left off onto Bobby's Army men, and I trailed them unsuspectingly under the sofa, I'm yelling, "Take that, you dirty Germans! Take that, you dirty Germans!" And suddenly Bobby's mom comes out of the kitchen with a dish towel in hands, just as I'm saying, "My men just wiped out the Germans." And she patiently explained to me in her German accent that those were the Nazis, not the Germans. The Germans were good. Now, what is that? Come on, tell me what that is. I immediately understood that. Oh, I have heard that term Nazis. That's probably right. I immediately understood that this was an offense to where she found her meaning. And it wasn't being just politically correct to understand that. I call that, where I came from, manners. Just understanding people and seeing what's important to them. And I know, I sort of react too when I'm calling my doctor. If you speak Spanish, press 1. Press 2 if you speak Italian. And finally I get down, and so I go, come on, this is America. And it should be, if you believe in God, press 1. And so, I get frustrated a little bit too. But folks, our world is getting smaller, and it's getting smaller and smaller. And now, I just read today, 15% of the energy needs of the United States is now coming from, we're going to have to build 200 and something more power plants just to accommodate charging these things. So our communication through computers and through phones and through Twitter and through all these things, I know half of us don't understand what Twitter is. I started an account and I didn't think you really wanted to know I was changing my grandson's diaper, so I didn't write that in. But we're bringing our world together. And so we're going to have to understand more and more about what brings people meaning. We're going to have to understand this business of spirituality. So if it's all important, what do we do? What do we do? People ask me all the time, "Oh, you're probably specially trained in talking to all these people of these different faiths, and what do you do?" Well, when I walk into a hospital room, I just ask them what's important to them. It's not hard. I don't have to be trained. I tell people, the people that train me in spiritual, the spiritual guidance of or the beliefs of other people are the people themselves. So when I met the Jehovah's Witness in the hospital, and boy, we did think they double crosses for them. And I just said, I don't understand a lot about Jehovah's Witnesses. Well, really, I learned a lot in a cults class, but anyway. I don't understand a lot about them, and could you explain it to me? And so they did explain it to me. So when the nurse called me up and said there's some people down here that want to know if you can get into a Scientology practitioner. I go. No, I'm not gonna. Yes, I go. No, I'm not.